Good evening, guys. It's Phil. It's All Leeds TV, and I am joined by the one and only Martin Riley. We are here to obviously sort of go through what was wonderful day yesterday against Brighton. We're going to give our player ratings. Some of them okay, some of them really not so okay. Martin's just been doing the rewatch to try and bring himself back down. How are you feeling, Martin? Are you feeling slightly more positive than I was after 90 minutes yesterday?
Well, I haven't rewatched all of it yet. I've watched about the first half an hour back, and it wasn't as dreadful as I thought it was after the game, but it was still pretty bad. Brighton did have definitely had the better of us, but it wasn't as awful as I was expecting it to be.
Are you watching sober? I must ask that question.
Yes,
first.
Yes, I am. I may be drinking cider now, but that is my only. It's my first one of the day.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, guys, if you're watching and you want to share your opinions, obviously send them in the comments. We'll flash them up. Before we get straight into the player ratings, I think most people will probably feel that wasn't great. But just to try and find some sort of positivity, which I think I'm going to struggle for tonight. We drew. We didn't fucking lose to Brighton. And that's got to be something. I mean, we had the Tottenham game where we felt like the performance was better than the result. And then perhaps some people might say the same about the Leicester game and the Wolves game. We probably deserve maybe more. And then this game, I'd struggle to think of a Leeds United fan that thinks that we deserve to do anything more than draw yesterday. But I mean, by all means, if you do, let us know. But we came away from that game that for me, we deserve to lose convincingly with a draw. And we've never got a draw against Graham Potter with Bielsa in charge. So happy?
Well, happy's a strong word, but yeah, we both said yesterday wasn't very optimistic about the game, and now we can see why we weren't optimistic about the game. But we also did say that we would have been happy with a draw. So, end of the day, the point is all that matters. The performance, not that great, but we can hopefully the boys can address that soon against Palace on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Bielsa himself, I imagine, would be the opposite to us in that we care about getting that point and we care about, the results are all that matter. But I think he gives a shit about the performance more than the results, generally speaking. So I think that I don't think he can have watched any of yesterday and been okay with it and been happy. I think, generally speaking, the performance of the team was, as a whole, not. I mean, we are going to pick out certain individuals, and I think most people will agree with us. But as a team, it wasn't good enough. And there's going to be some harsh player ratings in here. People are probably going to give even harsher than we've given, to be honest. Just judging from our group chat. So yeah, if you were there, obviously do let us know how it felt in the stadium. If it looked as bad as it did on telly, but it didn't look great on telly at all, to be honest. And I mean, what we were just talking off air about the XG and what that looked like. What would you have think a fair reflection of the game would have been?
Well, there definitely was higher for Brighton than us. If I didn't know what the XG was, they definitely created better chances than we did, especially the ones that were laid on to Neil Maupay. He definitely should have scored at least one goal. And just 𝐁𝐿𝐴 himself created so many chances. He is a top player, and he's a tough one to deal with. But obviously, we'll get into how 𝐻𝐻 did against him before long. It was the XG definitely is better for Brighton. They had 2 XG and we had 1 XG. So that's probably fair. They had double the chances we had, especially in the first half.
I thought it was much further apart than that, to be honest. The way it looked on the surface, I thought they could have been 2-0 apart inside 10 minutes. If you would have said to me at the end of 90 minutes, we've lost that game 4-0, I'd been like, yeah, fair. That's how it looked. Anyway, we'll save all this negativity for the players themselves. We'll we'll start on one of the only positives I think anyone's going to have, and obviously that's the goalkeeper, Illan Meslier. What did you make of him yesterday, Martin? Saved us potentially.
Most definitely. He pulled off a number of good saves, particularly one fingertip save. I think, was it Trossard? Yeah, that definitely was a very good shot, heading for the top corner. He just got enough on it to tip it onto the post, and that was definitely going in. I don't doubt that was going in without that slight touch that he got, because it hit the post, so you know that even a couple of inches the other side, and it was a worldie going in off the post and in. Yeah. So
or in off the back of his head.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, just that's the sort of look that we get.
that would have been the kind of look that I expected from yesterday.
Yeah, but Meslier for me, he was probably my man of the match straight in there. He kept it in the game, got us a point, so he gets an 8 from me.
Fair enough. I think gone early with the man of the match award. So obviously, if that's all you're interested in hearing, let's go now. Yeah. I've gone 7. I know a couple of people in our group anyway, and a couple of people I saw on social media still have the bit of the moan about distribution and a goal, one goal kick or a kick that went long and went out of play over Dan James or Harrison's head. But realistically, in that game, if that's all you were looking at, I wonder what the fuck else you thought was going on. So yeah, I think he's the only reason we've got anything out of that game realistically. Basically faultless. Like big saves. To be honest, maybe 7's a bit harsh. To be fair, maybe I'm just negative because that's the way I feel this weekend. Now.
You could do the standard fill and give it the usual.
Yeah, I could go up to a 7.5. Really, could I?
Yeah.
Probably fairer. Meet you in the middle. Guys, in the comments, what do you think of Meslier? Have we got any votes coming, Martin? 8?
We've got an 8 and we've got a 7 so far. I'm not sure if anyone else who's watching has got their ratings that they could give us.
So the 7.5 does seem to be like nail on the head then.
Yeah, it does seem to fit most people straight in the middle. Not many people would argue with that, I'd say.
I really want to try and draw Meslier out, because are we starting at left back by any chance, Martin? Is that where we're going to start with the defence, or?
Well, you usually start from the right, and that will be Llorente. So if you go that, maybe,
you've convinced me. Fine.
Llorente, he didn't have a great game. If just reel off some of his passing stats, and we know that's usually one of his strengths. Llorente had a 56% pass completion.
Man, I'm surprised it was that fucking high.
56% pass completion, and he only made one progressive pass. I know right back isn't his position, but still he didn't have a great game. He made a number of mistakes in possession, and I mean I understand. Brighton do put a lot of pressure on our wide areas, like we went over yesterday. But he was still going for too many speculative passes when he should have been keeping it a bit safer at times.
I said to the missus, like, it was one of them games we actually watched it together, just the two of us, and she was just saying, like, and obviously her understanding of football is nowhere near like we're obsessive. She only really watches Leeds to kind of humour me. And she was like, you know that Llorente fella, the accountant-looking one? Why has he always got to do mad shit every time he gets the ball? Why can't he just pass it to someone next to him? Why has he got to look for a Hollywood pass all the time? And I was like, if I could explain that to you, love, I'd probably be in a better job than I am. So yeah, she kind of hit the nail on the head for me. Like, he just balls at his feet, looks up, goes, right, step over, maybe. Try and make somebody for no reason, maybe. 70-yard pass to fucking no one, yeah, maybe. It just doesn't want to do the normal thing. And like in pre-season against Blackburn, that looked great. But against a team that dicked us twice last season and within the first 10 minutes should have been 2-0 up, after about 20 minutes, I was ready to murder not just Llorente. It wasn't just him. But yeah, I was ready to kill him by 20 minutes, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. And defensively speaking, maybe he wasn't that bad. We've come out with a clean
No.
sheet, first one away from home all season. Maybe
No, that's one thing I'll say. That's one thing we'll say that the stats do actually back up that he did have a slightly better defensive game, but it's not hard to have a better defensive game than he did offensively.
But you shouldn't. The thing is, like, this is where stats kind of come into it, in that it skews it. Llorente wouldn't have to make as many fucking tackles as he probably had to make yesterday if he didn't give the ball away so much. So by being shit with the ball, you've made us have to defend more. So the passing stats aren't going to get him out of jail with. I mean, even looking at the comments that have come in, it doesn't seem like they've got him out of jail with anyone. I went 4. So
I'm slightly ahead of that. I'm slightly ahead at 5, and that's only because he did have the joint second most tackles and interceptions. So he had 4 interceptions and 2 tackles. So that's a pretty reasonable defensive stats. So that's the only thing that gets him out, because his normally passing game is what's meant to be the good thing about him, and he did not bring that at all. And so he didn't have a great game. And to me, if that was if Liam Cooper had given the performance that he gave yesterday, can you imagine the abuse that he would have got?
I'm not going to be too high on Cooper either, to be fair, but I think you'll probably be higher than Cooper than I am. But we'll go Calvin next,
Calvin was. Calvin was the main centre back, but obviously for most of the first half, he did play a little bit in midfield towards the end of the first half. I did notice when I've been rewatching. Bielsa switched things up and moved him to midfield, but still, he didn't have that great of a game. I haven't actually looked at his stats yet, but
he got hooked at half time, and Bielsa said it was because of Calvin. It wasn't that he needed to do something else. He genuinely didn't want Calvin on the pitch.
Yeah, I'd say that the highest I could give him would be a 5.5. He didn't have that great of a game. Let me just have a quick look over the stats, see what they're saying on him. Where is he even? His pass accuracy was 63%.
Wow.
That's pretty woeful for Calvin. He made 1 tackle and 1 interception. So even his defensive stats don't say anything good about him. So they do back up the poor ratings that we've given him there, and some of the other ratings that we've got in the comments here. We've got a 5 from Johnny, and our own Chris Kelly has given him a 4. I wouldn't quite agree with that assessment on the doesn't want to be here. I think that's a bit grandiose.
I don't. I'd like to think not. Obviously, I also don't buy the poor performances signalling that there's been a falling out with Bielsa. I don't think so. I think it was just individually he had a shit game yesterday, and nobody's above getting hooked, and Bielsa hooked him, and it was the right thing to do. But fingers crossed, Calvin isn't wanting out, and fingers crossed him and Bielsa haven't fallen out. I think if they had fallen out, similar to like the Pablo thing at Leicester last season, you'd know about it quite quickly.
Because with Pablo, he throws him out of the team pretty much straight away.
Exactly.
And we have seen this before from Bielsa. Back in the Championship, he'd pulled him off twice at halftime because he wasn't happy with his performance. So I think it was a way of Bielsa saying just like, it doesn't matter who you are. If you have a bad performance, I'm gonna take you off, because he felt that what Calvin was doing tactically wasn't good enough. So he brought him on for Struijk, and I think I brought him off for Struijk, and I think a lot of people would say that Struijk had a better performance in the second half than what Calvin did. But if we move on to the next centre back,
I haven't given you my rating yet.
Sorry, I thought you had.
No, not mine.
I'm getting ahead of myself. Go on, Phil.
I've gone 5. Probably could have gone a bit lower, to be honest, but generally wasn't great, and it's just about the midfield part. I know he wasn't in midfield for great lengths, but like the way the job he did on Harry Kane last week against Tottenham, and he got rave reviews for that. Yeah, it just looked a shadow of that player this week, and I don't really know what the difference was. I'd like to think, obviously, Chris is on the wrong lines, hopefully, but let's just hope that's not the case.
I think it was. I mean, I'm not sure if you remember. Do you remember last season when we played Brighton and Calvin wasn't available? Yeah. And Struijk filled in for him in defensive midfield, and
as well.
Yeah, he did. But it's because of what Brighton do. they target certain players, and I think they will have targeted Calvin to press and narrow down his passing options. Our overall passing accuracy was not good. There's only one player who had decent passing accuracy.
Is it Forshaw?
How did you guess that, Philip?
I mean, we'll get onto that.
We will.
Go on then. We'll move on to Liam Cooper. I'm afraid you're going to go quite high here, and I'm going to have to bring you back down to earth.
No, I'm definitely. Cooper was the best part of our back line. I mean, I know that's not.
Well, that's not a compliment, Martin.
But still, he's just because he was the only one who had decent passing accuracy in the back line. He also had the best defensive stats in the team by quite a bit. He had where have they gone now? There they are. He
could have also given away 2 penalties.
Yeah, but so could they. And I don't. One of them that they weren't even close to being nailed on penalties. I don't think anyone from their players even claimed for him. I've just rewatched one of them, and it was only the fans who was really claiming for it rather than the players themselves. But I thought Cooper had a all right game. He had four interceptions and 4 tackles, and he had a strong game for me. His passing stats were reasonably good. He had 75% pass accuracy, which is lower than his normal, but compared to some others in the team, he did well. He had 3 progressive passes and 1 key pass. So that's not too bad for me. I'm giving him a 6.5, which is reasonable for me. Not too high, not too low.
I mean, I feel like I have to readjust some of my previous ratings now because I've gone 4.5 on Cooper, but I agree with you that he wasn't the worst in the defense. So I'm tempted to drop Calvin down to a 4 just to join Llorente, but I don't think I can push Cooper any higher than a 5. And basically, Chris has, with that last comment, kind of hit the nail on the head for me. There was definitely a couple of Cooperisms, and both of the potential penalties were just like spackery things to do. Just I'll knee the ball onto my own hand, and then 2 minutes later I'll fall on it, and then with my arse it'll go onto my hand, and it's just like I was just waiting for the next thing. And it wasn't just those two. He did have like another like really special moment, and I was just like, fuck's sake, Coops. The haters are going to be loving this shit because why? What are you doing? Like the performance in general is just falling apart. We just need you to just not, just you don't. And I think like the fact we got a clean sheet saves so many of these ratings from being like through the fucking floor. Speaking of through the floor, we may as well just go straight there. Junior Firpo, Martin.
Yeah, I can't defend Firpo.
Are you even giving him a number?
Well, he gets a 4 from me.
Wow.
That's I don't often give ratings that low.
Mate, that's incredibly kind.
It wasn't. That's low for me. I think that's the lowest rating I've given so far since I've been doing player ratings. So that for me that is low. But yeah, for Firpo, yeah, we've got a 0 there. Yeah,
mate, there'll be more than just that one as well.
Yeah, there will be some bad ratings for him, and I can understand why. Defensively,
mate,
especially,
he's got him on a lead in his fucking living room right now.
Yeah, Lamptey had him onto so many times.
Embarrassing.
He did not cope well at all with him, and that is the sort of player that he normally has done better with in the past. The players who are pacier rather than technically good, and he just did not cope at all. And yeah,
I think that might be my favourite one. Half a point for getting his boots on the right way around.
We've got a 1 from Chris, and we've got a 2 running through treacle from Johnny.
So I went 3, but then obviously I sent that into our WhatsApp group at the end of the game, and Tash told me off. And obviously she was at the ground. She was like, "You're being far too nice." It was a 2 at best. It was so bad, and like I don't know if. I think from what I remember, my marks for Harrison went up after Firpo went off. But at the point of Firpo going off, Harrison was down at like 4 as well. Just because I thought that entire left side. And I don't really think he needed anyone to help him either, Lamptey. I think he embarrassed the pair of them on his own. And it was so fucking hard to watch. And it was predictable every time. And Chris is bringing stats. I like it.
Oh.
And complimenting Johnny as well. Chris, are you all right? I mean, you're not wrong though.
Let's also not forget that 𝐂𝐈𝐃𝐄𝐄 was one of the worst performers last year as well against Brighton, and that is because of the pressure they put on fullbacks. That's not to excuse Firpo's performance at all. He didn't do well at all by any means. He actually did. I rewatched, like I said, the first half an hour of the game, and I don't think what helped was, you remember when he got the yellow card on Lamptey?
Mate, he could have been sent off 5 minutes later.
But that yellow card itself, that was as much Harrison's fault as it was his.
Oh yeah,
Harrison. The ball that Harrison played to him was so poor, so loose, and he brought him down. And I can understand why he brought him down, because if he wouldn't have brought him down, Lamptey would have been away, and at least that where he gave away that foul was near the halfway line, wasn't going to do us damage. If he would have let Lamptey get away there, that would have been awful. Hey Tash,
that's the thing as well. Like, again, don't really disagree. It's one of them where once he was on a yellow card, like I think me and Oscar sent the same message in the group at the same time, like 20 minutes in, and it was like, get him off now because he's a fucking red card waiting to happen. And it was a ticking time bomb. Like, I'm surprised genuinely that he made it to half time without getting sent off, because normally when you get a yellow card, like 𝐁𝐿𝐼𝐃𝐀 is the perfect person at doing this. He'll get booked and then he's nice as pie. You never see him do anything wrong again. Firpo didn't give a fuck, mate. He got a yellow card and was like, go on, where's the next one coming from? Like, fucking leave him alone. It's not like you can keep up with him anyway. Put your arms down.
Not many people would keep up with Lamptey. He's a real nuisance on the ball, but Firpo still didn't deal with him close to what he could have done. And I don't want to write Firpo off yet, because, like I've said on a tweet that I put out yesterday, that everyone has bad games. Firpo himself has had COVID. He's been injured. He's been in and out of the team due to these two things. And he's gone from not playing much at all at Barca for 2 years to playing for us, which is one of the most intense teams in Europe. And I think in time he will adapt to the team, but at the moment he's a bit of the way behind. He needs regular game time to play through this patch of bad form. And I think, if I remember rightly, after 𝐂𝐼𝐃𝐄𝐄's bad performance against Brighton, he followed it up with a reasonable performance after that. So I'm hoping that he can set things right on Tuesday, and I'm sure he'll know himself that he didn't have a good game. He'll know for definite that he didn't have a good game.
Oh yeah, you'd struggle to not fucking.
Well, if you get taken off at half time and a centre back is put in your place, you know that you have not had a good game. But I know he didn't get switched directly with Strauch, because Strauch went into midfield, and I think Dallas went to left back.
The change speaks volumes anyway, I think. But no, it's one of them where, I get the argument and I get the excuses as to why he's not up to speed yet. But for me, it ain't good enough. And don't get me wrong, I agree with you. It's unfair to make snapshot decisions of like from one game and go, no, write him off completely. But over the time he's been with us, it hasn't happened yet. And I know it's been a disrupted season because of the number of international breaks and the number of games in the international breaks. And just generally everything is disrupted, whether you've had COVID injuries or not. And there is that adaptation period. But I think in general, the same could be said a little bit for Dan James and obviously how he settled in. I don't think the summer signings from this summer in particular have settled in anywhere near as well as, say, a Rafinha did last year. But then if you look at last season's signings, Robin Koch still not fucking settled in. Rodrigo only just starting to settle in. So I know these are players for the future and we have to sort of stick with them and bear that in mind. But it is incredibly frustrating at the time that this is going on to see how long it takes to adapt.
And I think also that the club will have known that he was going to take some time to adapt. That's why we wanted to keep on 𝐂𝐼𝐃𝐄𝐄, because 𝐂𝐼𝐃𝐄𝐄 knows Bielsa's systems. And when he was out of the game, he could have been watching 𝐂𝐼𝐃𝐄𝐄 and seeing how he judge how he does that left back spot. Obviously, try not to watch all the mad shit that 𝐈𝐓𝐃𝐄 does on a daily. But yeah,
one minute. I found a comment that I've taken umbrage with. I need to flash this up because this is wrong, and I won't let this be said on our channel. That is strictly not fucking true. I have proof that woman cannot race anything ever. Even Firpo would have beaten her for pace yesterday. It'd have been a laboured race, and it'd have been a struggle. But that's unfair. We can put him as a 2, we can put him as a 0, but you don't say things like that. That's categorically false. Moving on. So, where are we going next?
Midfield. We've got Dallas and Forshaw in midfield. So one of those. Who do you want to go first?
We'll start Dallas. Because Forshaw's really good, and we need that somewhere in the middle.
Although I don't think that Dallas had a bad game. He didn't have a great game, but from what I saw in the first half, he was doing a lot, and he was trying to make up for the lack of a true striker up front by making a lot of runs forwards. That's what I did notice about Dallas. He was doing a lot of long-busting runs forwards, but people weren't always spotting them, and that's because we was being pressed so much in deeper areas that sometimes the players didn't see those runs, which is unfortunate because some of them were really good, and if they would have spotted him, he could have been in for a good game. He was one of the few players who had a strong passing accuracy. He had 86% passing completion. That was 37 passes, 32 complete, and he completed 3 out of 7 long balls, 3 progressive passes, 2 final third passes, 1 key pass, and I think he created a few chances as well. If I bring up that as well, he had 3 shot creating actions. So for me, he had
having 3 fucking shots.
I'd go 6.5 for Dallas if I'm giving his rating.
Right,
6.5
okay.
for me.
I think it's on the generous side, but I've gone 1 lower than you. I've gone 5.5. So that's it. That's not how we said on the last show that half a point is anyway. So I've gone 5.5. I thought he was okay compared to the defense. It was like chalk and cheese. That was a good performance, but still, like, generally speaking, I think that kind of maybe that makes a bit of sense. He did seem to do the third man run thing quite a bit, and he seemed to actually sort of, at a time when no one seemed to be bothered about sort of progressing us up a field in any sort of meaningful way, he did that. But at the same time, he was in midfield, and one of the things I hate most about playing Brighton is that we don't fucking have a midfield. It just seems to disappear whenever they have the ball, and we'll let Lewis Dunk or fucking Adam Webster take a 60-yard stroll up to the edge of our penalty area for no reason. We just won't bother closing them down. We don't want to. And if we're talking about in possession and ball carrying and passing and whatever, maybe I'd give him a 6. But defensively, like, I'd struggle. There's only one player outfield anyway that I'm going to be nice to, and he's next. So I've gone 5.5 for Dallas, and then I'll let you say all the nice things that you want to say about Adam Forshaw, and then I'll probably add a few more on top if you want.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Forshaw again was as good as what he has been in the past few games. He had the highest pass completion of one of the starting players, 90.2%, 41 passes attempted, 37 completed. Completed all of his short passing. Completed 5 out of 6 long passes, 4 progressive passes, 4 final third passes, 2 passes into the penalty area, 1 key pass. His defensive work, he had 4 tackles, which he won 2 of them. He had 2 interceptions, and I've already given Melier as my man of the match, but he was very close. He's got a 7.5 from me.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, up until the last 2 comments, it looked like some of these are a bit low. Like, we've got 2 6s, a 6.5. Like, I'm confused. Like, what did people think?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the side did wrong.
Is it because of what I just said about that gap in midfield and defensively speaking, there was no midfield? Do you reckon that's what it is?
It could be, but I think he was the only person who was taking up good positions in midfield to try to get passes to him. I
can remember a couple of times where he didn't quite get his foot in, and people did get around him. But realistically, like Chris has said, on the ball, and generally speaking, compared to the rest of the players, apart from Meslier, outfield, head and shoulders above everybody else. And since he came back into the team, generally speaking, it has kind of been that way. He could bump up to an 8. That's fine. I've gone 7, but I am giving him my man of the match. I didn't want to give it to Meslier because I thought that, well, obviously, first of all, you've gone Meslier, and I thought it was the easy choice. And after about 10 minutes, to be honest, I already had chosen Forshaw as my man of the match. And it just never really changed throughout the game when everyone else was looking shit. And people fluctuated in having, like, for me, obviously, we'll get onto Jack Harrison in a minute. At some points in the game, fucking woeful, but at times a lot better. Whereas there was no point in that game where I thought, oh, Forshaw's not quite ticking here. Just consistent throughout the game. Well, I don't think anybody controlled the game, to be honest. I don't think Leeds United had any sort of control. But when it was at Forshaw's feet, I wasn't panicking. So, like, when Firpo had it, I shat myself. When Cooper had it, I shat myself. Llorente, shat myself. Harrison, shat myself. When the ball was at Adam Forshaw's feet, he's not quick, but he's got the body feint where he will just face one way and then he'll just go, oh, I'm going to go that way.
He has good personally. His agility when turning is great. The Forshaw turn, as you can coin it, is great. You could say he was the calm in the storm.
Yeah,
he was the only one who brought any sense of calm to the midfield or even further up because he was moving quite high up. That's reflected by the chances that he's created. Yeah, he was great, and it's just pleasing me so much that he's come back into the team and he's just performing as good as he was when he left back in the Championship when he last played. He's just.
I just couldn't help it. I had to flash it up. They want everyone, even you. That's nice. Anyway,
it's good to be know that naked girls want me.
Well, moving swiftly on. So Adam Forshaw, we're going to go somewhere in the middle, like 7.5 then, yeah?
That's good for me.
Right, so we'll move on to the wings. Are you wanting to start on the right or the left?
Dealer's choice.
Start on the right.
We'll start on the right, yeah. We'll go for Rafa.
Yeah.
Rafa, he did not have his usual...
One minute. Rafinha, wait, Adam Forshaw or the naked girls? What reminds you of ginger biscuits, Chris? just want to know. We'll let Chris get back to us while you start on Rafinha.
Yeah, the Rafinha, he was not the spark that I thought we needed. He didn't do the same sort of things that we expect him to do. I know there was some considerations to play with the amount of pressures that they're putting onto the wide players, and they were keeping a very close eye on him. But that happens every game. He's always the player who teams will look at and think he's the person that we need to mark out of this game. And usually he doesn't let that bother him. It's possible that his recent illness, whatever that was, has affected him because he was out for last week and he's come straight back into the team. So that is a possibility. But despite that, we can't give him excuses. We haven't given excuses to other people who are returned from injury like Firpo, so he doesn't get the excuse either. He tried to dribble past people so often. He had 6 dribble attempts and only completed 2 of them. He gave the ball away quite a lot. His pass completion was 61%. I realise he is a creative player, so he will always have less pass accuracy than other players, but even the ones which were completing weren't doing a right lot. He had 4 progressive passes. Oh, that actually surprises me. Did he do anything else in possession? What was his progressive carries like? Not even that good. 4. Which is lower than what he normally does. So for me, 5. He didn't do a lot to deserve more than that. just a disappointing performance from him. We'll let him off because he's rescued us so many times in this season alone and last season. So not much more I can add to it really.
Yeah, in all honesty, and I'm going to deviate from what I've actually put. Like I've always said, I tend to go from, if I see something good, I add a half mark. If I see something bad, I take half a mark off. Yeah. And Rafinha, on my sheet, is still as a 6. But when I actually think back to the game, I can't remember a fucking thing that he did. So that's probably why. Everyone starts on a 6, so I probably haven't seen him do anything all game. So that's why he's on a 6. I'm gonna drop it down to a 5. Basically for that reason, that he, in games where we have absolutely nothing, normally he's the only thing that we can turn to. And when we can't turn to him, like, what the fuck kind of hope do we have? And he was absent for large parts yesterday. I do remember him dribbling past someone once, but I know you said it was twice. Other than that, I really struggled to remember anything. I thought Cucurella did a good job on him. And going back the other way, I don't think he did that great a job on Cucurella. Not as bad as...
Actually, that is one thing that I will add to. He was dribbled by 4 times.
Well, so. Yeah, he's not exactly Virgil van Dijk, is he?
No,
he don't give a shit.
Of course not.
If you dribble at Rafinha, it's all right. Off you go then.
Yeah, but even then, that is still quite a lot of times that he has been run past. Yeah. And for me, it's not quite good enough because I know he is an attacking player, but we know that he does have some defensive strengths. That's one thing we said about him, that
it's not evident yesterday.
No, it definitely wasn't evident yesterday.
So Harrison, then, I'm intrigued to see what you've gone for Jack Harrison.
Harrison was better than Rafinha was for me.
Really?
Not by a lot. But that's only because of looking over the stats. He was a lot better stats-wise than what Rafinha was. I'll go through some of his stats so I can quite try to justify the rating before I give it. What he did well was his progression. His progressive carries, he had the most for us with 7 progressive carries. And that actually was matched by Adam Forshaw. Adam Forshaw had 7 progressive carries yesterday, which is phenomenal for a central midfielder of his profile. I think he created a few chances. If I can look at, he had 2 shot creating.
I don't remember us having any fucking chance.
He had two shot creating actions. I'm not sure what they were from, but he had them. He was up against a right back who isn't as good going forward as the other side, so I think he was helped out in that. But he did put Firpo under a lot of pressure, especially with that, what I said before, the loose ball, which caused Firpo to get the yellow card. So that brings his marking down a little bit as well. Yeah. I'm gonna go a 6 for Harrison. That's because of the stats that I've said, that he did do some good things, even though we might not think it. So I'm intrigued to what you think.
I just want to go somewhere quickly before. I like that you can jump from comment to comment and they've all got 0.5s on. Joe and Oscar, I know you don't watch me because you're all too busy. But if you were, I made fetch happen, even if it's only like 2 or 3 people. So anyway, me and Chris are on very similar lines. Ghost Shark has hit the nail on the head. I've gone 4. I could have, like I said, he was lower on my sheet before Firpo went off. The comment about him being better than Rafinha, I just disagree entirely. I thought that right-hand side wasn't an embarrassment apart from Llorente's passing. But on the left-hand side, defensively, it was so embarrassing. And I remember one of Lamptey's dribbles, he walked through Harrison first, then through Firpo, then through Cooper, squared it, and then I think Mopé fired over the bar. But all 3 of them were just looking at him. And, like, don't get me wrong, I don't want to play at left back against Tariq Lamptey. I'm not saying I could do a better job, and I don't know anyone that could. But, like, Chris, again...
Yeah, his passing was bad. The stats
and that's the thing. The only passes that he did were straight back to Firpo or to Forshaw. And if he gave it to Forshaw tended to save his arse by doing something quite spectacular and keeping it. But Forshaw, even then, was sold short a few times by Jackie. And then Firpo was sold short by him a few times. And I remember at least 3 when I say like the cloud, and I used to get mocked by Oscar for calling his foot a cloud because it'd go through, but the first touch is normally the thing that sticks out. I remember 3 of his first touches, one off his thigh, one off his foot, and one off his chest, all going out for throw-ins. And I'm just like, there's no fucking hope if you can't control a ball, Jackie, because who can? So, yeah, I've gone 4. Again, that went up when Firpo went off. It was lower at the time.
And
it's incredibly kind.
The stats also back up what you're saying there about his touch, because he had 5 missed controls, which is very high.
I was only 2 off.
Yeah, so he didn't have a great game based on that.
Awful.
But it was.
Are you going to come down a bit?
No, I'm sticking to the 6. He did do some good things on the ball, and just the passing let him down for me. And he'll have better games. He's had worse games this season for me.
No, yeah, he's had worse games. One more thing on him, actually. There was one, and it wasn't just once, but one that comes to mind straight away. I think we had 4 people in the box, and I was screaming, just fucking cross it.
Yeah,
and the chop, stop with the fucking chop. I mean, decision making, just fucking whip it in, man. You're good at whipping it in. That's what you improved on over the summer.
Yep.
Do it, please. Right, mine. Come on, climb down from a 6 at least. Go to a 5. You can't give him a 6.
No, he's getting a 6 from me. Sorry. I've also one of the other stat which hit out to me was that he did have 3 tackles and won all 3 of those tackles. So
because the passing was so fucking bad that he needed to tackle somebody.
Yeah, but still, like I said,
were any of them on Tariq Lamptey by any chance?
Sorry.
Were any of those tackles on Tariq Lamptey?
It doesn't tell me. It doesn't tell me who they were on. I would imagine they'll probably be on his man marker, which was Joel Veltman. I'd imagine that's who he will have been tackling. But yeah,
how many times was he dribbled past? Just out of curiosity,
he was dribbled past twice.
Yeah, that's not too bad actually.
So he tackled 2 dribblers.
we didn't actually look at how many times Firpo did, but I don't think I want to know.
It wasn't as bad as you'd expect, and I'm not sure if this is accurate. It says that he was only dribbled past once. No, I honestly that can't be right. Because just when I was watching it just now, the first half an hour, I can remember at least twice then, just in that first half hour. So I think maybe what we're thinking of how many times he's been run past is clouded by the times when Lamptey got past him and then he fouled him. So that doesn't go down as a take on completed; it goes down as a foul. And the fouls, how many fouls did he complete? He completed 1. Nah, he didn't only have 1 foul. No chance. No, that's wrong.
Yeah, we're getting plenty of responses from these guys as well.
Yeah, they're loving us today. Online strips without clothing.
Ah, nice. They've changed it.
But how can you strip if you're not wearing clothes?
Let's just move on before Scotty gets excited and joins us. Right, on to, should we do Dan James then Rodrigo?
That's fine with me. Dan James. I want to have a look at the stats first, but I don't think it's going to be look that great for him. Did he create any chances?
Mate, I don't think we had any fucking chances.
He actually had a 100% dribble completion rate.
No, that's great.
He completed. He completed 2 dribbles. He had 5 progressive carries. No, sorry, 3. I'm looking at the progressive passes received. Passing wise, did he do anything? No progressive passes. I don't remember much from what he did. He didn't even do that much defensively like he normally does. He didn't have that good of a game from what I remember. And the stats don't really say much different other than those dribbles.
To give him something, I thought he pressed well.
Yeah, his pressing, that was one stat which comes out well. He had 21 pressures and he was successful in 6 of them. Those pressures were only beaten by Diego Llorente and Adam Forshaw, who had the most pressures. 28 pressures did to Adam Forshaw.
Yeah. No, I do think with Dan James, it was one that it wasn't for the lack of trying, but similarly to Rafinha, like I said before, can't really tell you what he did. Didn't see much of him. There was times that he made runs into the box, and maybe it's not his fault because, like, I've just lambasted Jack Harrison for not fucking putting the ball in. But I suppose when you're looking into the box and you see Bamford running towards the back post, you might whip it in. But if you see Dan James running towards the back post, well, what's the point? He's fucking.
Well, he did score a back post goal just last week.
not with his head, mate.
I wasn't talking about head.
If the ball in, like.
But that's not that's not the sort of balls that you'd put into to James, though, is it? You'd always want the low balls like he scored.
Harrison didn't want to put any of them into.
No. Actually, I didn't actually check that. Did he attempt any crosses?
Well, we're clutching at straws here. I mean, everybody's gone like 3s and 4s. I must admit, I've made the same mistake with Dan James I have with Rafinha in that I've seen so little from either of them that they're still on 6 for me. But I know from watching it back, I wasn't happy with either. I wouldn't say just because I've given Llorente a 4, and I think Llorente was probably, apart from Firpo, the worst player on the pitch with Jack Harrison. I wouldn't go as low as 4, but I might go 4.5 or a 5 or something for Dan James. But
I don't think I gave my rating, but it's a 5 from me.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm happy to go a 5 with you then.
Fine.
And then we'll go Rodrigo. Anything?
I don't remember anything that he did. Did the stats show anything? Let's see.
Again,
his dribbling.
It's so hard to remember any of the things. I do feel like he linked things up a bit better, but I can't help but feel frustrated by the fact that he's in midfield and Dan James is up front. Just fucking swap, man.
He did have a reasonable pass completion, which is surprising. He had 78% pass completion, which is fourth highest, third highest from people who started. So that on its own is pretty good because he's some of his passing can sometimes be a bit loose, and he did have one key pass, so that's one shot created, one final third pass, 2 progressive passes. Did he have any ball carries? He had.
I know I went slightly lower just based on the thing that we were saying about the midfield earlier and the fact that it didn't exist. And the person that, I mean, feel free to check how many times he was dribbled past, but surely that's got to be at least 3 or 4, and they've all got to be Adam Webster.
He was dribbled past once.
Piss off.
Once apparently.
What game for these people watching?
Well, don't forget, Phil, that it doesn't count as a dribble run pass if they don't attempt to tackle them. So
right, okay, yeah, fair.
So if they were running by him and he just looked at them and didn't do anything, that doesn't count as anything. But we know that did happen quite a bit. But we did label that down as something to watch out on the pre-game match was the carries out from the back from Webster, especially. I'm just gonna depress myself, see how many they completed.
Oh, mate. It's been a bad enough weekend anyway. Like, did you need to go there?
Yeah, I do. Adam Webster had 2 successful dribbles and 8 progressive carries. So I reckon some of those progressive carries will be the ones which he got by Rodrigo for.
Yeah, Rodrigo just didn't even bother trying to chase him.
Yeah, but I think also, don't forget that Rodrigo probably won't have been his man. Dan James was the one pressing the back line, being the striker. So he will be the first man to
you think Rodrigo knew who his man was?
I'm not sure. He didn't do anything that I can remember, which was great. He's going to get just 5.5.
Yeah,
just because of his passing. I would have given him a 5, but the pass completion was higher than I expected, so he gets a half mark up from that.
I'm gonna go 5. I could go lower. I know a lot of people have, but yeah, it's just sort of. It's one of them where just basically didn't do enough. I thought linking up the play and like passing the ball and doing his little back heel and stuff, like okay, but the fact that gap in midfield is so fucking big, you can't really let him off. But at the same time, I wouldn't have him as low as I had Firpo, Llorente, and Harrison. So
yeah, because he didn't do it. He wasn't. It was nowhere near as bad. It was nowhere near as bad as what they were. I'm assuming the people in the chat that have put like 2s and 2.5
for Rodrigo have only gone that high for that low, for Rodrigo, because they've given Firpo a 0. That can be the only sensible outcome.
Yeah, I can see that logic.
So we'll move on to the subs. I don't think this is a week where we can get away without giving a rating to subs, to be honest. I think because we've had enough time to get a rating.
Most definitely. So
nobody gets away with it.
If we go from the time they came on, obviously we had 𝐁𝐿 and who else? It came on at halftime. It was yeah, that's right. So we had those
do
two come
Jamie
on.
Shack first because I want to end on high.
Shack, he didn't have a great game. The lowest point for him was the very loose ball that he tried to play back to Meslier, which was nowhere near ever going to reach him. Put us under a lot of pressure. Sorry,
becoming a running theme that the back pass to Meslier not really going very well.
Yeah, that was very, very, very loose compared to where he wanted it to go, and that could have cost us a goal. Let's have a look at some of his stats, see if he did anything there which would warrant up in my rating, which I won't say yet till I've looked. Jamie Shack, 70% pass completion, so not as bad as some people. 1 progressive pass. Did he do anything in possession? Did he do anything?
Some very different.
One dribble completed. Didn't create anything, did he? No chances created. Not a right lot to say that he did. He gets a 5 from me.
There's everything ranging from a 2 and a 5 in the comments. Everything in between. I went 5. In all honesty, could have gone lower. For me now, as far as I'm concerned, I want Ayling back. I'm sorry I ever doubted you, Luke, and just come back at him working.
Luke needs to come back.
Player, on the bench, whatnot, but that's not good enough anymore. And just maybe look, we can be nice to him because he's a local lad, he's a Leeds fan, blah blah blah. But end of the day, that wasn't good. And he only sort of gets away with a 5 because there's people that were far, far worse. But out of the 3 subs that came on, terrible. But the worst by a distance. We'll get on to Pascal Struijk. How did you feel he did when he came on? Because I don't think he was perfect, to be honest.
No, he wasn't perfect. We have seen better performances from him in recent weeks. Stats-wise, the reasonable stats. He had 77% pass completion, 2 progressive passes, 2 key passes, 4 final third passes. Okay, the stats don't actually look pretty good, actually. Let's see what else. Defensively, just a 1 tackle and 3 interceptions. That's pretty strong for just a half. And he had 17 pressures, again, only in 1 half. And especially if you consider that Rodrigo had 15 pressures in a full 90. Yeah. So he completed.
You're not exactly picking the right person to compare it to, but yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, because who else have we got? Dallas Dallas had 20 pressures in a full 90.
Yeah, that's a better example.
So he was working his ass off. So that does give him a lot of props from me. Did he do anything? Did he do anything on the ball? Let's see.
I remember he did give the ball away a few times. His passing wasn't perfect, but realistically in that game, like, how could it be? Because no one was finding.
It's hard. It was a hard game to find players. He had 2 progressive carries, and he attempted 1 dribble, which wasn't successful. But
I tend to judge by, like, how many times do I get off the sofa and say someone's name in a positive or a negative light? And I didn't recall getting off the sofa to say anything bad about Pascal. And I do remember at least 1 crunching challenge where I'm like, go on, Pascal. So I'm going 6 for him. I thought he was okay. Coming off the bench, did a job, and let's be honest with who he actually came on to replace. I know he wasn't a left back, but fucking anyone could have replaced Firpo and got a 6 from me. So yeah.
He gets a half mark higher from me, 6.5. He did a good job for what he was brought on to do. Clearly a better job than what Phillips did in the first half. And
agreed.
He did do a lot of good stuff. a couple of bad passes, but overall he wasn't too bad. We've got a 6, we've got a 5, we've got a 4 from Justin. That's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
A 5 from Danny. Yeah.
We're gonna wrap up in 5 minutes, but Tyler Roberts, Martin.
Yeah.
It's got to be high, right?
Yeah, definitely. He had a good game. He was our main attacking threat throughout the whole game, despite only playing for half an hour. That's not often we can say that about Tyler, and he should be given credit for it.
Yeah.
He had the most XG for us. He had 0.6 XG from 4 shots. So that shows that most of those shots none of them were big chances, but he did do well with those chances that he had, and 3 of those shots were on target, which is good for him. So it's definitely a positive evolution, as Bielsa would love to say, in his performances. He was one of the only players who I saw properly occupy the defenders. He made a lot of good runs, and he did well. A lot of people were clamoring for Joffrey to come on, and I'm not sure if Joffrey would have done the same runs that Tyler did. Joffrey loves if you think about what Joffrey is good at, he likes to drop deep and he runs with the ball a lot. He's
brings it.
I
think he would have carried it, but yeah, I must admit, with what Chris has said here, when the substitution happened, I was absolutely fucking fuming. I was screaming at the telly, why? Just bring Joffrey on. It was the obvious thing to do. And I wasn't made to eat my words in the sense that he went and fucking bagged a hat trick, but end of the day, like out of the subs anyway, it was the best person that came on and made a difference, which is probably the biggest criticism we've leveled at him for a very long time, in that he comes off the bench and he makes no difference. So he came on and he made more of a difference than Rodrigo made for the vast majority of the game. Dan James, Jack Harrison. He made more of a difference to the game than fucking Rafinha did yesterday. So
yes,
give him credit where it's due. He looked our only chance of getting anything. Really don't understand why you'd go as low as 5.5. I think that's just harsh, but generally speaking, I do agree with Chris in that Joffrey is a better player. I genuinely believe, or thought anyway, that he was above him in the pecking order, and I still don't think that performance changes anything for me. I still think I'd rather see Joffrey come on depending on the situation, but I thought yesterday when he came on, he looked like someone that didn't have the weight of the world on his shoulders and did have confidence in a game where no one deserved to have any confidence apart from 4 shots, because they're all gash.
The biggest chance he had was the one which their goalkeeper Sanchez pulled it from. I thought is a good save. He put it in a decent area. He could have done better with it, but the keeper did still make a good save. He could have easily scored yesterday if
end of the day, if he could have buried one, let's be honest, that would have been the biggest fucking smash and grab going, because we didn't deserve fuck all from yesterday. Definitely so the fact that he didn't bury it kind of is justice.
It's in a weird way. Well, it isn't, because we have been on the receiving end of some performances where we have deserved wins and didn't. So the cosmic justice would have been us getting a smash and grab. And especially with some of the bad luck that he got last year when he had goals ruled out, which could have been a good confidence booster for him. But to say how badly he did last week, so not last week, at the weekend against last week, against Spurs, he definitely turned it around and had a positive performance. So I'm glad that he had that, because he needed to have a good game in response to that. And Joffrey could have come on, but I honestly think Tyler made those runs because he's that sort of player who doesn't make those final runs. That's one thing which Bielsa has commented on before, is that Joffrey needs to add more of those runs past the defensive line, because he likes to get deeper. He's a similar striker to Rodrigo, is Joffrey, where he prefers to carry the ball past the back line rather than make the runs past the back line. Yeah. And so it's an example of when, because Tyler is actually a striker. Let's not forget that. And
I mean, his goal record might suggest different.
Oh.
I've flashed Chris's comment back up just for one reason, just because I can see a 0.5 at the end there, Chris. Just really proud, really proud of you, mate. And
heartwarming.
That is heartwarming. It's warmed my cockles, so thank you, Chris. I think we're gonna leave it there, aren't we? So that was it more positive than I expected? I don't think we've nailed
the result. The result was probably more than both of us expected. I think both of us probably, if we were honest about it, both of us were expecting a loss, and based on the first half performance, that was justified. And
mate, there's a reason we're signing off now. We'd be here for hours.
Yes.
But in a nutshell, that's the answer. In Bielsa, we trust, and we don't really need to understand the madness that goes on in the midst. So I think the point that we got stands us in good stead. If we would have lost yesterday, don't get me wrong, the performance was bad enough, but if we'd have lost yesterday, I think it puts a lot more pressure on Tuesday night and Brentford next weekend.
Definitely does.
We need 6 points, let's be honest, from the next two games, four at least. But yeah, look, I'm not going to agree with that. I don't think Bielsa's lost it. Yeah, I question the substitutions and I question the decision making, but I don't question Bielsa as our coach or manager. I just think I struggle to think there's anyone out there that would do a better job, to be honest. And with the players that we've got, and let's get Patrick Bamford back next weekend, and let's get Luke Ayling back, and let's see how things are going. So yeah, ideally we'll be here on Tuesday night, Wednesday, fuck knows when. There'll be a big match preview, probably. Fuck knows. We'll do a big match preview. We'll do a player ratings. There'll be other post-match, like pre and post-match content around the Palace game and the Brentford game. So obviously keep looking around on the channel. You'll see it.
It's going to be a busy week with this many games. My tactical breakdown may not happen because of the amount of content that we're going to have to do over the next few days. Yeah. And it's probably going to be tomorrow night that we're doing the big match preview anyway. So I might build it into that a bit, if you don't mind, Phil, if you're with me on that.
Yeah, mate, by all means, we'll see what happens. Fuck knows. We haven't even planned it yet. We can pretend we're more professional, but we're not. God knows. So fingers crossed. There's going to be plenty of content for you to get stuck into, and fingers crossed for 6 points to come over the next 7 days. We could very much do with it, and our faces will not look anywhere near as slapped as they do right now. Because, yesterday, great result, shite performance. So let's hope for a better performance and 2 good results over the next week. Thank you, as always, Martin, for your time. I know you're a busy man, and thank you to everyone in the comments for joining in with us. If you haven't already, smash, as Oster would say, smash the like, and obviously, let's see if we can get some more subscribers. I think we're ticking towards 23.5. Martin,
I think so. Yeah, I think it's around 2023 that we're on. So we want to get to 24.
We want to get to 30, mate.
That eventually, but we have to give it in targets, incremental.
Yeah, and obviously, just keep an eye out for what's coming up next. Thank you, guys, and bonsoir. Have a good evening. All the best. Bye.